Thanks for watching this episode of Answering the Call. I'm Pastor Chuck Reich, your show host and executive producer. This is a series all about evangelism and discipleship, and we're highlighting ministries all around the world that are serious about doing just that. Well, this time we're in Chaska, Minnesota, visiting with Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO of MyPillow. Mike, thank you so much for spending some time with our viewers.
Yeah, great to have you here. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, we met at the NRB convention.
Yeah.
We heard a little bit about your involvement with Unplanned and launching the Lindell Recovery Network, and we're just fired up about that. So tell our viewers a little bit about how God put that on your heart to launch the Lindell Recovery Network.
Well, I was, if anybody out there doesn't know, I was an ex-crack cocaine addict, and so it's quite a story from back in the day where I was 20 years of cocaine and switched to crack cocaine, and I knew that that someday with MyPillow was just a platform for God, and that I would go back someday to help the addicts to where I was, and it's been quite a process, but it's all come to fruition now where we're ready to launch this amazing platform.
Yeah, well, back in August, one of our board members says, hey, you need to meet Mike Lindell. He's got the same testimony, and in 99, I was down to 141 pounds. So they say your misery becomes your ministry. So you even got a chance to share last night at the Salvation Army with like about 100 guys, and we're getting testimonies of people who are overcoming. Talk about that, the power of the testimony and people who've overcome.
Yeah, well, it's, for me, sharing my stories, for like your show, Overcomers, to have stories of hope. Addicts need hope, and they need to see that hope. And I think that's one of the biggest things is with addiction is, like when I quit crack cocaine, we didn't think it was beatable, and all my friends have quit where they see an example what can be done, where we were their equals, and that has a lot to do with my network that I've set up.
It's the power of our testimony, and you have a strong testimony. We've talked a lot about this this network, and a lot of people in addiction have a couple things in common. They don't have hope, but they also have burnt bridges and broken relationships. So talk about that a little bit in your journey, even as you were, relationships are being restored and you're moving forward and being successful in business. Yeah,
when an addict comes out of everything, those are, in the society we're in now, where they've gone, addiction's a disease, and you're trying to shame the families into, you got to help your addict and get him help. Well, it's the right help, and when you get that help, when you come out of addiction, as you know, you don't have trust. There's not trust there, and there's first guys that trusted me were my drug dealers. They're going, okay, we get it, but the relationships, everything can be restored, but first you got to get your heart restored. And this is something that's so important even to my network. This is your faith. This is Jesus Christ. You get your heart restored, and now other relationships can get restored. But if you're coming out just because you're not using, if you haven't addressed those pains, the stuff that came from childhood, the fatherlessness, the trauma, all these things that they know where addiction's from now. And I don't believe anybody's born an addict. I believe that it's a mask for pain. It's a mask for, it's an escape. It's wounds that need to be addressed and a heart restored. Mine was, I had a terrible unworthy, my parents divorced when I was 7. I was put into a new school. I would either show off or I wouldn't talk to people. My biggest fear was talking to people that I didn't know, because it was fear of rejection. You wanted to fit in, unworthiness, all these things that go along that once people start using and stuff, that you're masking those pains, or or false courage. That's another thing.
Amen. There's a lot of root causes, and some will say it's the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Those are the 3 roots that just grow and get out of control. That's good. Well, stay tuned. We're going to get some more interviews from some folks who's been through some programs, who's found victory, who's overcome, so you too can have hope and find some good faith-based organizations to get clean and sober. Keep watching. Hi, I'm Pastor Chuck Reich. I'm the executive producer at Horizon Media Studios. It's a 501c3 media ministry, and what we're doing is helping other ministries tell their story. Homeless shelters and children's homes, Bible colleges, seminaries, mission sending agencies. With your help, we can continue to help tell their story to inspire the world to shine their light and let God get the glory for the work that's being done in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Thanks again for praying for us. Well, thanks for continuing to watch this episode of Answering the Call. We're so excited to be in Chaska, Minnesota, visiting Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO of MyPillow, who's launching the Lindell Recovery Network. So we know with addicts, sometimes they're just turned off by religion. So we can't start with Jesus. And Jesus didn't really start. Sometimes he gave the physical healing and then kind of revealed himself later. So talk about that strategy. Even your book, you want to talk about recovery and then introduce the faith-based aspect to it.
Well, it's like addicts need hope. Okay, and you can see that, and I know what that answer is, but they see the hope, like you or I. They see all these people have made it through. I've spent a lot of time in secular treatment centers throughout the 80s to get your license back, do this and that. And all they did back then, you hurt your family, you spent all your money, they shame you more. Then you get out and you don't have a foundation of God, of Jesus, and you get out and you feel you're waiting to relapse. You're going, I feel terrible still inside. They've never been addressed, whatever it was, why I became an addict. And then you don't have your drugs to mask it. You're going, it's miserable. It's they've named it all kinds of things, a dry drunk and all these different things, and that you're really not. Your heart isn't restored. Your heart has not been restored, and you are a good person. And people don't, they don't address this in a lot of these things. Now, you go to your faith-based treatment centers, your Salvation Armies, your Teen Challenge, your Union Gospels. I've vetted thousands of them now, and these are the ones that work. And you get in there, and for an addict, you're going, okay. You go in there, and I tell any addict, I'll say, you know what? You go in there, and to think of it as an apprenticeship, because a lot of them go, I'm not going to waste that time and spend that much time in any treatment, much less that. Well, you know what? Here's your choices. You can go to a 30-day secular program and pay all this thousands, $30,000, $40,000 of insurance, and they go, hey, you're ready to go out the door. They have monetized that industry, but they don't work. What works is the faith-based. You're learning how to live again, and you know what? And while you're there, you know what? You're going to come to know our Savior. You're going to come to know Jesus. But and any addict, I always say it's you go to school to be a lawyer, or you go to be a carpenter or whatever, and you do this apprenticeship. This is like a new start on life. This is an apprenticeship on a new life.
That's right.
On a new life. I've told people, I said, well, you go in there, you don't have to. You go like, no, and once you're in there, they go, wow, this is amazing, because you see hope.
So I've heard it said, you can't undo a lifetime of abuse in 30 days.
Absolutely.
You're just scratching the surface. So we've also highlighted a lot of faith-based rescue missions, like gospel rescue missions, and in every major city they have them. And as we partner together, we're going to be getting some more testimonies of people all around the country. It's the same answer. Sometimes it's a 9-month or a 1-year program, and it's hard to commit to that. But your philosophy is, hey, give it a week. Just try it for a week, and if you can stick around, right?
Absolutely. You go in there, you've tried. Let me tell you something. It's like, if you do the same input all the time, you're going to get the same output. And it's not going to change, okay? It's like when I invented my pillow. Other people had other pillows. You go, the same input gave you the same output. You use that philosophy. Well, this is different. You don't have to, in your mind, go, I'm going to stay there this long. But once you're there, you're going to see hope. And hope's going to bring more, you start feeling good about yourself again. You start addressing these things. What they do, the commonality of all these centers that are faith-based, is you're addressing the wounds why you were addicted in the first place. What those were deep down. And getting your heart restored, and now when you leave them, you've got a foundation. You've got something to stand on, because you know what? You're not going to get trust and stuff right away, but you don't need that at that point. Now trust builds on time. It'll get there.
You're healing. So this is a great verse. It's in your office, Matthew 19:26. All things are possible with God. Talk a little bit about the inspiration. Why'd you put this up in your office?
When I quit everything on January 16, 2009, I knew at that time, but my story, I knew MyPillow was just a platform, and I knew it was a story of hope. I mean, for me to be where I've come from and to where I'm at now, if people can't see that, this is impossible without God. I lose things in my life. My book's called What Are the Odds, From Crack Addict to CEO. Now, if you take your own life and you go, wow, that's like a 1 in a million, that's like a 1 in a billion, this stuff never happens. You add it together, when does it become a miracle? All faith is mathematics.
It is.
I mean, look around you. It's impossible. It has to be God. It's just mathematics. And everyone out there, so many people, they pray, they go, it's, get me out of this, I'll never do it again. And it happens. It might be a miracle. We've all had our stories of, getting out of this situation or that. But then you look at these things, they say, that's a 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion, or it never could happen to anybody. And you go, you put it off to chance. No, it's God.
Right, exactly. God is trying to get your attention. And some of those things that are astronomically, crazy is exactly what God is using to get your attention.
Absolutely.
So even after we talked, we started thinking, all right, what are we going to call it? Overcomers TV. I get in the rent-a-car, Jeremy Camp, Overcome song is playing, and I switch to Bluetooth, and it starts over on my phone. Out of 2,700 songs on my phone, I'm like, what's the chances? We're talking about overcome.
That's exactly right.
God wants us to be an overcomer.
And those are confirmations from God. You start, you get in the Word and you start becoming proactive in prayers. Anybody, when you even talk about prayer, I would always be reactive. Things would happen, I get myself in, so I go, please God, get me out of that, being reactive. Now, if you, and you know what? God's will, that might not be God's will, those prayers. But if you want, where's God's will? It's in the Word. So if you're getting, you get that relationship with Jesus Christ, and now you're in the Word, and now you're praying proactively. And is this the will? I pray every day for wisdom and discernment. That's my prayer, because I have to, I'm taking a different path, the right path now, and I get confirmations all the time from God that I'm on the right path.
Amen. That's good stuff. Hey, stay tuned. We're going to get some more interviews from some folks who are part of the Lindell Recovery Network and people who've overcome some of their drugs of choice and now found victory in Christ. Keep watching. Hi, I'm Pastor Chuck Reich. I'm the executive producer at Horizon Media Studios. It's a 501c3 media ministry, and what we're doing is helping other ministries tell their story. Homeless shelters and children's homes, Bible colleges, seminaries, mission sending agencies. With your help, we can continue to help tell their story to inspire the world, to shine their light, and let God get the glory for the work that's being done in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Thanks again for praying for us. Well, thanks for continuing to watch this episode of Answering the Call with Mike Lindell, the inventor, CEO of MyPillow, launching the Lindell Recovery Network. Tell our viewers a little bit about this book. The picture, the before and after picture is amazing on the cover, right? And you got a halogen where you kind of, it's crazy. So talk about that.
And because it's so dramatic, it kind of tells the book right there on the cover. And then on the back to have when I was a kid and not being able to talk to people, after things happened in my life where I was very introverted, got shy, or I would show off. And then all of a sudden you have me as a kid and then talking or praying with 50,000 people.
You're like, that ain't going to happen. You didn't think that'd be you.
No, absolutely. That's my biggest fear. I've had all kinds of things in the book, 14 near-death experiences. All these different things happen. But what was I didn't have fear. Then I got guns to my head, parachute not opening this stuff. The fear I had was speaking, public speaking. I mean, there was, that was my biggest fear. I'm going, whoa, I ain't doing that. But, in the book, and it's going to tell an amazing journey where God was chasing me, okay? And all these things happening in my life where I would actually, we'd be doing drugs or drinking after one of my bars would close, and I'd be talking to my friends, telling them about, in jail, I read about, I was reading the Bible and telling them this stuff. And
the Book of Revelation,
Book of Revelation, and I'm going, the end times, and I'm telling this, and we're doing drugs, and you'd think I'd be a hypocrite. Hey, you guys, we got to quit this. They would quit that night and find Jesus. I'm going, what did I say? I'm losing friends. And there was like 28 people this
You were still a preacher before you were officially a preacher. That's awesome.
It was me, when I talk, it's almost me trying to convince myself.
And they say the preacher preaches what he needs to hear the most.
What he needs to hear. That's I've never heard that, but that's what I was doing. And this went on and on, but some things happened to me from the, in the book, the drug dealers doing an intervention, and in 2008, leading up to when I quit. But one of the things, a friend of mine came to me a month before I quit, and he was my equal. He had both done cocaine together for 20 years. We had started. Then we switched to crack cocaine.
Right.
And
you were on
so
the same path,
we were on. We had done the same drug and stuff. Right. We thought we can't beat this. My friends and I did. Well, he had 3 years. We had heard he had been straight. I hadn't seen him in a year. Right. And he came walking in. What are the odds? Out of the blue, and into my place. I'm all alone, and things were getting pretty bad. And he walks in. I go, Dick, what are you doing? He goes, well, the Lord led me here. I said, well, what? And I said, as long as you're here, is it boring? I said, is it boring? Yeah. And he goes, no, man, it ain't boring. And we had this long conversation. But I respected, because I knew he had been where I had been with that specific drug. And this comes up in my network. Right. And so I respected his opinion. You could have had even another addict in there, but he hadn't been where I've been with that drug. Right. You put another addict that had been on, I don't know, opiates or something else. Right. I needed Dick's opinion because he was my equal. He had done what I've done. Right. Been there, done that. And then when I did quit, I quit overnight, and I said, God, I'll do this platform thing. I knew this was a big platform. I had fear because I had all these things inside of me that I knew the drugs were just as bad as things were getting. I did make sure I didn't have any money, so it'd be a great comeback. I made sure everything was gone. Everything's gone, including the pillow.
Loves a good comeback
the pillow
story.
Company is just Well, I wanted to be with God. All things are possible. And even the night I quit, I go, wow, this is going to change so many people's lives. Right.
That was another story in your book you mentioned last night with the police officer. You had to get some paperwork over.
Yeah.
And you could have got arrested, and you're like, hey, this is going to affect millions of people down the road. I don't know how, but God's got me on a mission.
Right. Yeah. And I told him that. That was 9 months earlier. I told this police officer I had to get this, or my pillow wouldn't be here. And it was a warrant out for my arrest the following Tuesday. Right. And I was going to be found innocent, and believe it or not. And anyway, I came into Carver, Minnesota to pull in to deliver these papers, or my pillow wouldn't be here, to my brother. And sure enough, he pulled down. Larry, the cop, pulled down, does a U-turn. I'm trapped now, and I get out with these papers, and he goes, Mike, stop right there. And I go, Larry, I said, you don't understand. I said, if my brother doesn't get these papers, it's something to do with God. And my pillow is a big platform. Millions of people are going to be affected if I don't get them these papers. Right. And I said, and I got a bonus for you, Larry. Next Tuesday, I'll be found, I know you're going to arrest me, but next Tuesday, I'll be found innocent. Right. And if I'm not, you can arrest me anytime you want, and I promise I'll have cocaine on me. and he looks at me, and he does it.
I'll be an easy bust for you.
But the interesting story, and this is in the book, 9 years go by. Right. And it was last fall, and I'm doing our town parade, our hometown parade, throwing pillows out the kids. In Carver, Minnesota, and I hadn't seen Larry in like 9 years, and he pulls up in his squad car, the siren going like the old days, and I go, Larry, he goes, Mike, he goes, do you remember what I did? He goes, am I in your book? And I get out and I go, Larry, do you remember? He said it word for word, and I said, why did you believe me? And he goes, man, he said, your passion, and he said, and I thought to myself, what if you're right?
Well, God put it on his heart, grace.
Yeah.
Grace is unmerited favor. We don't deserve it.
Right.
Mercy is getting off the hook. Grace is like not only off the hook, but a blessing to go.
Right.
And that's God's grace in our life.
Right. But see, for him to see that come to fruition, and then to fast forward a little bit in the book, then after I quit everything overnight, I said, God, free me of the desire. Right. I woke up the next day and the desire was gone. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, 2 months later, I felt led to go to it was a faith-based treatment center at our church. Right. And I went in there, and because I didn't want to go, why was I an addict in the first place? I didn't have the desire anymore. Right. So I walk into this place, and I tell the instructor, turns out to be my instructor, I said, I'm going to have a book someday, it's going to change the world, I'm going to have a movie from it, I'm going to help all these addicts around the thing. I used to be a crackhead, I quit 2 months ago. And he went home and told his wife, he said, you should have seen this guy came in, he must be higher than a kite. Well, now that's, everything I told him's come to fruition. Right. But what in his center, what I learned, which is really also part of my network, I had never been to that kind of treatment center, faith-based. And I walked in, I get in there the first night in class, I start telling them about how much drugs I did and all this grandiosity that an addict will have. And I'm worse than you and all this stuff.
Yes, war stories.
Yeah, war story. He goes, we don't want to talk about that. He said, let's talk about your childhood. And I said, my childhood was fine. I had a divorce at 7 when divorces weren't common. And he starts in and he's bringing up all these wounds and stuff I had from a child. And I learned stuff I had never learned before. And now you fast forward to now.
That's ministry, by the way, when somebody's ministering to your heart.
Yeah, it was amazing. I walked out of there, and those planted seeds to where I'm at right now, to where I'm adding all these things combined into this recovery network.
So what are the odds? Crackhead to CEO.
Right.
The book. It's available. It's going to be available September, right?
Yeah. We're going to have early sales, because I don't even know how many millions are going. There's millions demand the money. A lot of the money is going to go forward to run the recovery network. So I'm going to probably have pre-sales, so I get a handle on how much to make, because I'm doing all my own publishing.
Right. You're going to sign a copy
this
for
money's
us?
for the kingdom. I'm not. Nobody's getting a part of that. It's not going to be available at your traditional.
Well,
places.
that's part of your heart. You want to help fund the network, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Hey, stay tuned. We're going to actually get some interviews from some folks who are a part of the Lindell Recovery Network, so you too can get a copy of the book, read it, and see how God might use you in this big picture. Keep watching. Hi, I'm Pastor Reich. I'm the executive producer at Horizon Media Studios. It's a 501c3 media ministry, and what we're doing is helping other ministries tell their story. Homeless shelters and children's homes, Bible colleges, seminaries, mission-sending agencies. With your help, we can continue to help tell their story, to inspire the world, to shine their light, and let God get the glory for the work that's being done in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Thanks again for praying for us. Well, thanks for continuing to watch this episode of Answering the Call. We are just so excited to hear how Mike Lindell answered the call. The Lindell Recovery Network and this book, What Are the Odds? From Crackhead to CEO. So talk about the Lindell Recovery Network. How is it going to work?
Well, it's going to work like this. You're going to have the website, and you go to this website, and you're going to hear my story. Most people have heard it, but if they haven't, now I'm talking to the addict.
Right.
Not the family.
You're reaching the addict.
This is going to reach the addict. So they get there, and they got trust, because I'm also was an addict, right? So now I'm going to say, hey, you guys, put in your age, what you're addicted to. That's it. Right. What was your number one addiction?
Gotcha.
Now all these your drug of choice. All these stories come down that age, and they're not stories of where their bottoms were. Right. All they are is what you didn't like about the drug. Right. And you put that up there like a crack addict for me. I didn't like trying to find baking soda.
Paranoia.
The paranoia, peeking out windows.
Right.
I didn't like always trying, I'm out of chore boy, so you take a lamp thing and you carve it up to get the wires out to make a screen. All these things that only a crack addict knows. They've all
we
been
got to be resourceful, yeah.
So if this guy, this 22-year-old opiate addict, he might not relate to a 57-year-old crack addict, right? So he'll put in all these stories just like him will come down, specific to what they didn't like about the drug, not their bottoms or whatever. And what that does is, now you're seeing their faces of all these stories. You don't know how they got there, okay? You don't know. All you know is that's your hope. This guy's been where I've been, just like my friend that came back to me.
He escaped.
This addict, and somehow he made it through. How did he make it through? Now they're going to go, I'm on there again. I'm like the tour guide of the website. Go, hey guys, here's how they made it. Right over here, I have vetted over 3,000 centers. They're all faith-based that work. I'm just going to say, these are the ones that
give
work.
Give it a week.
I'm going to give them all reasons why they wouldn't go in. I'm going to talk about being an apprenticeship on your life, and I'm going to sell them on going in. And once they get in, I'm going to tell them, you know what, you guys, you get out of there. I'm going to be waiting there for you. And they're going to go, what? How are you going to be waiting? Well, I'm going to have mentors. All over this country, everyone's going to have a direct mentor to them that's going to, these are all paid mentors. It's an amazing employment. It's going to be.
And that's discipleship. That's the church word, but it's really mentorship. Right.
These mentors have been there. They went through the same thing, so they know. You don't get to jump over and go, I get a mentor. No, you got to go through here. Now they get out. And then, let's say their mentor, this is very key. Where over here you had your hope matches. Now over here, let's say that you went through this and your kids still don't like you. They can't stand you. Well, that mentor might not have had kids or whatever. Now he punches in the app.
Family dynamic.
They punch in the app, and that relapsed, potential relapse, there's a mentor out there that went through the same thing he's going through that he could have relapsed. And he says, basically, that's a relapse match where he can go, talk them out. Or maybe you get out and right away something tragic happens, a death.
Right.
You know, now you reach out. Maybe your direct mentor didn't have it.
Mourning and loss.
You put it in 24/7 like a call center. You put it in. This guy's been through it. So he reaches out to you. Here's how I got through, and you can talk about it because it's a commonality.
Well, that's biblical. It says, God says, comfort people with the same comfort you got when going through your troubles, right?
Right. So you're matching up the potential and even if you can have everything perfect, but then if something can trigger, but if you have someone that's been through it. They can help you.
I love cliches. Birds of a feather flock together.
Right on.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're getting like-minded people with similar experiences to gather together, share notes, and find the positive commonalities.
So you have this complete circle of hope, help, and mentorship, and restored heart. In there, you're getting your heart restored. It's a new life. It's a complete circle. And once as this gets going more and more, then you're going to get what you didn't get out of other centers. People are going to trust you. Oh, you went through the Lindell Recovery Network. Wow, they're going to have trust. And all these things, why I know addicts relapse, are going to be covered. We're going to check them off one after another. It's just and
they'll become employable. That you talked about.
Oh, they're all people. Let me tell you something. Addicts. You got like the Salvation Army. They've been doing it for a long time. Employers like me that know about it, we grab them guys because I'll tell you what, an addict that's completely set free and of those drugs, he is the hardest worker you'll ever seen. They want to set the world on fire because you know how hard addiction is. You know how you've been there.
You got to run the game.
It's the worst.
They're very resourceful.
24 hours. 24 hours you are working. You are working all all and
you give them a righteous heart. Now it's doing it for good.
Now you're doing it. You're on fire for good, and so employers are just grabbing. These are going to be great high-paid jobs. I mean, and it's going to be known. Hey, you got any more? We're going to as fast as, and it's going to be such an amazing. Not just getting one little pocket. The whole country is going to be set free.
And for me too, it's hard to commit to a 9-month to a year program. But I had a 1-year-old and partying for 7 years. Couldn't get 30 days clean without lying about it. But my older brother said, you know what? It's a good investment to make sure that you're alive to watch your child grow up. So,
well, it's an investment. The investment is, like I say, I use the thing apprenticeship. You go, how much time do you spend? If you want a good paying job, you spend a lot of time learning the job,
going to school,
on the job training,
craft,
school, whatever. Here, you just think of it as you're getting an apprenticeship on life. It's a new way, and you're going, all this stuff, you're set free of all this stuff, and it's how much time do you put in for any job? This is a new life, and so then you got to get the addict to get out of their mind that it's a waste of time.
Another thing that clicked for me was, again, reading the Bible. You talk about getting in the Word. There's one verse in Joel chapter 2, verse 25. God says, I can restore the years the locust ate away. And when you're in addiction, man, the enemy just steals all kind of time, and God can restore all that.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, because people ask me all the time, wow, don't you wish you could turn back time and those wasted years that you could have spent, the years I regret that I didn't spend time with my kids, or that I lost those, so to speak. And I'm going, you know what? It's none of that's in my mind is wasted if I'm not where I'm at right now. So I'm telling any addict,
nothing's wasted.
He redeemed it. When you get out of there, everybody's got a calling. God's got a plan for everyone, and you get out of those. You're an addict out there, and you're hesitant. You're going, you go in and you get out, and you're going. You think back to, wow, if those things hadn't happened, I'm not going to be where I'm at. And everything gets restored. God does restore. It just gets. It's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing. We're so excited. Stay tuned. We're going to get some more interviews from people who had restored lives, that are set free, that are just on this wild adventure that God has for you, for us, and we hope you answer the call. Keep watching.